Hello everyone, it's Carrie Bradford, and today I am going to show you how you can maximize the art that you get for your cutting files. We get these cutting files, they're really amazing, and you don't just have to be limited to just cutting them out. There are other things that you can do with them, especially the ones that are provided by me where you have different file formats. So we're going to talk about a couple different ways we can use them. The first, well, actually there's three ways. The first way is just the standard, ordinary, let's cut it out. And in this particular file that I'm working with, it's the freebie for August 9th. This just shows you how we can do it. You know, we've got this version. We can layer it with a different color or a different circle color. There's just some different options to play with. But what we want to work with is right here. We're just going to work with this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and just select and delete these things. And we're going to work with just this photo right here. If you take a look at this image, what I've done is I've brought up the DXF file because I don't have the designer edition on here. And I think a lot of people may or may not have it. So we're going to work with the DXF file just for this purpose. So Silhouette looks at the inside of this P as a shape on top of the P. So it doesn't look at it as a whole. It's not going to treat it as a whole. If we were to fill this with color, it would fill the entire thing with color. So we need to tell Silhouette that this is actually a compound path. It's written, it's got lines, it's got a ring around it. It's not just one blob of shapes. So we're going to right click and choose Make Compound Path. And now if we come up here and fill it with color, you'll see that it is now, you can fill it with pink. Before it would have just filled the entire thing with pink. And we want to be able to work with this in this different way, and it needs to be a compound path in order to do that because we want to fill it with color. We're actually going to turn this into a print and cut, which is really kind of fun. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo that for the moment. And now what I want to do is I'm going to draw a circle around this shape. And I'm going to hold down my Shift key and make it about, maybe 5.4, 5.43, 5, whatever it was. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it for now and center it, because if we tried to center it, because this little loop-de-loo is coming out here, it's going to center it with that, and it's going to adjust the circle and move it over, and I don't want to do that. So I just have to kind of eyeball it. And this is going to be our cut line. So first we have that, and then we're going to come up to our offset window, and we want to do an offset of maybe, let's go about 0.12, 12 or 125. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to actually give our shape a little bit of what's called a bleed. It means even though Silhouette is pretty darn precise with all of its cutting, if I have the choice to add a little bit of a bleed, a little bit of a wiggle room on that cut, then I'm going to do that. That's one of my favorite tips. So I have added that extra little buffer right there so that when it cuts on this inside line, if it happens to be just an ever so fraction off, you're not going to catch a little bit of white. And that's happened to me before, and so that's why I like the bleed. So now let's fill this outer shape. We're going to fill it with color. Let's maybe choose this pretty pink. And then we want to move it to the back, so you can right click and then say send to back. And then that way it's behind the image that we're working with. Now we want to take this shape, this photo part, and we want to fill it with white. So I'm going to come over here to the fill color, fill it with white, and we also need to turn off that black outline. So we're going to choose the line color and say none. And now we have this really cute little icon that we can use on anything. And so now what I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and select it all, right click, and choose group. And I'm going to resize it. Let's change it down to about 2 inches. And make sure you have lock aspect ratio checked, and then say apply. So now you can see we have our first little icon. And just for the sake of the whole print and cut scenario, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my registration marks just so that we can see what space we really do have to work with here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of move it a little bit, because I'm going to duplicate it all the way across. So I've selected the image. I'm going to come over here to the replicate window. And I'm just going to say duplicate right and just kind of hit it until we're about out of space. And that just looks about like all that we have the space for. So I'm just going to select them all again, and then I'm going to say duplicate below, and we're just going to duplicate it so that we get a nice full page. Now, if we were to have chosen, let's try one more time. We could maybe get rid of that one because you want to make sure that you stay out of the gray area. So we'll just kind of select these and just kind of move them up and over here a little bit. Okay. I could have chosen, there's an option called fill page, but it gives too much white space between all of the shapes. And to me, that just is a waste of space. So I kind of went ahead and just chose, to duplicate, and they just kind of align them side by side. Now what we can do is, I don't know about you, but I don't particularly care for a whole bunch of pink. This photo, so it's cute, great color, love it. But I want to go ahead and just start coming in here, and I'm going to ungroup what we had and select that outer ring and come over here and let's select black. And then we're going to come to this one, right click, ungroup, and select that outer ring again. And let's choose aqua. And that aqua is a little bit intense for me. So I'm just going to go into my advanced options, and I'm just going to move this little slider on down, and it will adjust the intensity of that. And that's a much better color for me. That's what I like. All right, so anyway, that gives you an idea of what you can do. You go through and you can make a whole sheet of these icons. And if you don't have a 12-inch wide printer, you probably have to use the 8.5 by 11 page size. So don't forget to change that before you start working on this so that you get the right amount of images going across here. So that's a really fun and unique way to maximize that. I mean, those are going to be totally fun to have and just put them in a little envelope and just have them on hand so that when you want to add something to it, that's a great way to add a little, flair to your page. So the second way that we can use this shape is we can use the PNG file that comes with the kit and use it on a photo. And this is just another really fun way to maximize your art. And so what I'm going to do is, you can see that I have this cute little baby up. This is my niece's niece, and she's just absolutely adorable. And I've already brought up you see down in here in my project bin, I've got both the photo and the shapes up. So if I click on that, you can see I have it all. And I'm going to crop it just so that I don't need all of this other stuff. I'm just going to work with just this one right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and crop this out. And then you can just click on the green arrow. And now I'm left with just the shape that I need. So if I move over to my baby photo, you can either use the tabs up here, or you can use the project bin and move back and forth. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this image here and drag it up over onto the photo. And now you can see we have this cute little, love this photo. And we're going to maybe move it about, well, I think I'm going to kind of move it to the side. I kind of like how it looks just a little bit off. And maybe I'll make it just a little bit bigger. Maybe about there. And have it just off the edge right there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and, you can either double click on it or click the green arrow, and it will apply the changes that you made. Now, it's cute with black, but I would prefer that it's white. So what we can do, so let me just go ahead and zoom in on this. What we can do is we can use our paint bucket tool, and we want to make sure that the foreground is white, and then we're going to come over here and we're just going to click on the shape and change it to the color that we need. And we don't want to forget the little dot to the eye, and we're going to do the outer circle. So now when we look at it, that's just a little more subtle. So then we can, we even come over here and play with the opacity and change it down a little bit so that it's a little more subtle, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at the bright white. And another thing that would be cute to do is, I'm going to zoom back in a little bit, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to pick a really cute pink color, and I'm just going to choose my paint bucket and just fill in the heart. So it's just kind of another, fun little thing that you could do. You could even get some of the other elements from the composite file and maybe take the word this and put it over this particular this. That's a lot of thises. And put that over there and fill that with color. You could, we could even change the ring color you know, you're not tied to just using it just as a simple cut shape. Lots of fun. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for stopping by.